king of all things VR. And just before 7 o'clock, I lost my VR virginity, which was a very exciting experience. I'm still feeling the motion sickness, actually. Now, he's brought along, young Brendon King, a whole range of toys, and I know that you want a bit of playtime. So we're going to have about a 30-minute talk here with Brendon, and then a great opportunity for you to get hands-on with all of the tech toys he has brought. It will give you a great taste of what is possible with this rapidly evolving technology. Brendon is a veteran of the advertising world. He worked for Saatchi & Saatchi. Then, of course, in more recent years, he has been the owner of Immersify, based in the Kapiti Coast, and virtual reality has become his actual reality. From virtual shopping malls to tasting a tourist experience, virtual reality holds so much potential. How can it apply to your business? Please welcome Brendon King.
Thank you, everyone. Morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me at this bright and early hour. We're all caffeinated, I think, so we're ready to go. Thank you to Mike for the intro. Interesting, I didn't realise I didn't check you out. That's very bad of me. So, tourism, you'll love some of the things we're going to talk about this morning, which were quite relevant. Also, thanks to Spark, and just endorsing what Mike said, this is actually my 5th VR lab talk, demo, interaction, if you like. Initially up in the Spark lab in Auckland, which is a purpose-built centre, and then from there it was a success, great crowds, real spectrum of ages and business interests. So yeah, I really literally sparked this into life, and the national tour. I spoke in Wellington a couple of weeks back, and to be here in Christchurch, first time in many moons, is a real pleasure. So thank you for joining me. We're going to hook into it. Slide 1. Yes, here we go. Chris Milk, long-term veteran of the videography industry, did a lot of the music videos for U2 earlier on, and I had the pleasure of meeting him a couple of years back at the first Oculus conference in LA. Talking about virtual reality is like dancing about architecture. Now, somehow I managed to do a half-hour spin just to negate that statement, but it really is. That's right, first show. First show of hands in terms of who has experienced VR. Oh, cool. That's excellent. Yeah, because we've seen, it was interesting, when we did this and kicked off in March 2015, it would have been exactly the opposite. 20% had, 80% hadn't, or probably even more. So it's actually encouraging from our perspective to know the industry's coming on, because I used to turn up to demos because there was no relevance and no validation of the industry. We're seeing a lot now coming into the media through mainstream, and a series of products that we'll just loosely talk about this morning. So without further ado, let's talk just quickly about the hardware and a quick introduction. These are obviously not all of the units that are available, but I just wanted to sort of stage up from, we'll start with the very basics, is our very expensive unit here. This is Google Cardboard, $5.65 on Trade Me. Literally just place BYOD, bring your own device, so literally any modern smartphone, Android or Apple, just pops into here, click it on, and away you go. This one has got the very expensive strap, which I actually find quite handy. Otherwise, you can just do this. So, as a very simple introduction to the VR tech, using a simple or cheap device, this is where it begins, and this is great for campaign if you're a marketing branding agency or any small business who wants a rapid viral deployment. You then evolve into something like this very quickly. Same proposition, cardboard. And this was actually the very first brand experience here in New Zealand was done by AIG, the haka. It was actually filmed in Christchurch, or captured in Christchurch, in the middle of the beginning of a rugby test, where they basically put 6 VR cameras in the middle of the haka and the All Blacks, so you could be doing the haka with the All Blacks. And that was a brilliant campaign. So if you want an example of how a campaign can run, irrespective of the size of your business, haka360.com online, or just Google Haka360 VR, and you'll find just how they laid it out. They're able to do video, 3D and VR. They sent thousands of these out, or you could apply online, so you could take the experience of being with the All Blacks in the haka, and a couple of different perspectives as well. So again, this would have cost them $5 to produce. Out the door it went. Download the app to your smartphone from the internet. Simple equation. And that was, as I say, this was very early on, so this was very thought leading of them to get into that, but very cost effective. Stage up from there, the $35 version. Now this is again as a BYOD. Slot your device into here, headset on, more comfort. Again, the main thing I find with this is light leak. If you want to feel present or immersed in the experience, this is, it's in 60-70%, but effective for just that first eyeball rush. Whereas in something like this is more comfortable, you can spend more time in it, and very, again, good cheap entry point. If you're working in a kiosk or trying to do a demonstration within your business, for argument's sake, if it was a real estate company or something like that, trying to take someone through a virtual home, this is a good cost-effective option. You can choose whatever phone you want to put in it. I'm sure Spark has a great variety that would suit this. And that sits very well within the price point. Next one up is the Samsung Gear VR. Now this is what I tend to prefer to demonstrate within a kiosk if you're a tourism or you're looking for a high-end or better quality but still portable. Samsung S7 phone, Gear VR via Spark. You can actually upgrade or purchase this in S7 and get this for free, otherwise it'll cost you about $170. Or you can put headphones in, but you can navigate within inside the unit. In some of the instances, it's just virtual, hold for a couple of seconds, boom, and it goes, or the touchpad. So this is a fully integrated smart device. There's no actual wizardry inside, it's a piece of plastic. The phone, again, is doing all the work. But either a $1,000 entry point, let's say, if you're buying the phone outright, or if you're on a commercial plan, which I imagine a lot of you are, if you're business folk, upgrade to either an S6 or an S7 phone. At the S7, you'll get this for free. Advantage, and again, S7 I would be endorsing if you're looking for a quality experience. It's got 4 times the processing power for graphics compared to the S6. And this is the first phone on the market we've discovered that will actually raise the bar in terms of quality. And to us, as a purist, I suppose, quality is everything. So this is Dr. King's recommended showpiece for, and especially if you're putting a lot of people through, like some of the demos we're doing at various places, you could put 300-400 people through. Did a Te Papa demo recently, 400 people in a weekend. It needs to be robust, it needs to do the distance. Reliable phone, reliable, well built. And again, these are well built. These, as you can see, this one's getting a bit tatty. It's been used and abused a little, but just be aware, if you're putting a lot of people through, you want something that's going to go the distance. Up the top there, I didn't bring our heavy duty along today, but left side here is the Oculus CV1. Now, Oculus effectively began this revolution. It was a Kickstarter company with 4 young geeks. Early 20s said, we're going to build the ultimate headset for gaming. They came from a gaming background, and we're stepping back to the beginning of 2014. Everyone said, yeah, let's go for it. They got about $1.5 million of seed funding off Kickstarter, and literally got the first developer headset, as they called it, out the door. This is the 3rd iteration. Well, blow me down, about 15 months later, Mr. Zuckerberg swooped in and gave them $500 million each, $2 billion for a company that hadn't actually released a commercial product. And there was a lot of baying across the internet at that stage that the little guys supporting the little guys have now been swallowed by the big fish, and not many people were too happy about that. However, Parmalaki, who was the ringleader of the 4, said, we're not off to the Bahamas to drink pina coladas, we're actually going to build you what we promised. Facebook, to their credit, gave them enough autonomy to continue to do so. I've been to both the first 2 conferences where it was just Wild West, and the second was getting more corporate. The 3rd was just last week. I didn't attend there because I was in Australia, but a really strong evolution. They've built their community. So arguably, from a hardware perspective, they have been the early leaders, and this Gear VR is a combination product you'll see on the side between Oculus and Samsung. So Oculus have formed a very strong relationship with Samsung for the hardware and also with Microsoft. So this is for the development and all the rest. We won't get geeky today since we're in business mode, but the development platform's all based off Windows. So there's a link between Microsoft, Oculus and Samsung. Apple's a dark horse in this one. We'll talk about that a bit later. So yeah, Oculus strong leaders, but there are now some limitations to a degree in that you would have seen also on the right-hand side. Our favourite toy boy at the moment is the HTC Vive, just recently to market. Hand controllers. So at the moment, the things we'll show you on here today are more voyeuristic. You know, at some times you'll instinctively reach your arm out, but you don't see your arm. You're literally taking a view, whereas with the hand controllers and HTC, you put your arm out to see your arm. So again, for argument's sake, in a training perspective, you reach out, and again, for argument's sake, if you're doing a welding training video, you'll reach out, grab the welding stick, apply, and that's happening in real time, all in computer graphics, obviously. But a greater sense of presence yet again, because you're now involving your whole body. And the Vive will give you a space that square or slightly bigger, 3 metres by 3 metres square, so you can move around freely. Tilt brush is something that Google has pumped out, which allow artists to free paint in real time, and that's just really transforming even the art world around digital. And of course, if it's digital, it could be 3D printed. So you're seeing this weird manifestation even in the arts community of the early adopters getting in there and literally going nuts in creation. The one that we don't have up there, which is just hit the market, of course, is PlayStation VR. Literally just arrived, the first units in New Zealand in the last couple of days. And again, more aimed at gamification, but of course, it's all platform play. So Google Play, Apple Store, and Sony Store all allow any manner of content, whether it's music, video, games, and now VR experiences to come down. So this is a platform play on behalf of Sony. And again, it is equally relevant to business because this will be the first major market. 40 million PlayStation 4s out there as people pick up the headsets, which I think are priced 700-800-ish New Zealand. There's your instant market. Oculus obviously still have to try and create that via the Google Play Store, but Sony already has a potential 40 million audience, and that's quite substantial. So that's effectively a quick overview of the hardware.
Brendon, can I just jump in?
You
Just
may.
a question from Donald. What do you think is the best way to turn a SketchUp model, for example, if you're walking around a model home?
Yep. A minute, let's say 20 minutes, half an hour, so a documentary style, and someone would be charged $1.99 to deliver that across the internet. If you think a lot of your potential customers may, for whatever reason, not be able to make it, age, health, lack of passport, 80% of America doesn't have passport. So there's actually another category as this technology evolves of your virtual tourist. So that's a really strong commercial play if you think about it. And if you're not doing it, someone else in America is already doing it, or Europe. And we're starting to see this. And the same probably applies, for argument's sake, in the likes of museums. Te Papa or Google Home, a museum, room by room for fine exhibitions. There's only so many people that can physically get through. If you've captured that well, you can have 80-90% of the experience, and that's income. That's an income model as well. So just be aware of that if you're from within the tourism, that there's a taster plus cost recovery or profit model around that. Architecture, pre-visualization, and also let's say architecture and real estate, we'll bring them in together. So either capture of existing homes through 360 camera technology, which is getting down cost, price performance is getting really good these days. Or if you imagine a commercial real estate park or a set of apartments, 300 apartments going up, that's a multi of hundreds of millions of dollars build. It's all come out of a CAD file, as per what we're saying. We have to depolygonise it. However, we can actually give you some incredibly detailed virtual. So this whole environment, this wonderful actor is standing in, is a virtual CG, and it can be embellished with furniture. It's perspective accurate, as in you get very fine lines, whereas capture sometimes you get a bit of fisheyeing, just because of the nature of capture technology. In this particular instance, that gent has now superimposed himself. This is actually the developer, Pete Black. He's actually put himself as a real person playing showroom host, or this could be real estate agent, or imagine this also could be a showroom. If you were Fisher & Paykel, you wanted to show off your latest products virtually across New Zealand, because again, the person couldn't get to your actual showroom. The interaction of human and digital is a really interesting, and we call that mixed reality, so it's a combination of VR plus AR, and that has a lot of legs, if you can imagine, across real estate, showroom, architecture, whether it's commercial, our brand new commercial park, and or the domestic household. And imagine that, that's quite relevant, especially for argument's sake in Christchurch, where I can see when I came in, there's still a heck of a lot of house build and a heck of a lot of empty spaces that will ultimately have buildings. So imagine you can walk through your new house build, and that's already available to a degree through architecture, agreed. However, this literally puts you inside accurate distance perspective. You can add 3-seater couch in black, or the Dulux paint by numbers approach that you've seen online. Red couch, blue couch, Fisher & Paykel appliance, 65-inch TV, 55 watt fits the space. So very, very powerful for that. And we can do that a combination of the Gear VR in terms of a look, but if you really want the high level, the HTC Vive or the Oculus, which involves a $3 or $4 grand PC plus $1,000 worth of headset. So again, you've got a scaler in terms of your investment if you are the commercial sales outlet. Training, again, a huge potential around the training side, and just using that analogy I've just spoken of for argument's sake, let's use McLaren as an example. Has gone from hypercars to supercars. Hypercars were hand-built. They've got a whole factory full of ladies and gents who tool away. Supercars are assembly built. So there's a huge training exercise currently going on in McLaren to pivot a new factory in. So from that CG build of the factory, because it was all architecturally designed, you could literally put the new staff into that environment and train them on every aspect using a Vive with the touch and hand controllers. Just one example of how powerful that is around training. We're already doing work in health and safety. Obviously, a lot of changes in New Zealand over the last year around the new health and safety regs. Seeing is believing. People, I believe, I can't read a manual. If you show me 3 or 4 times, because I'm a slow learner, how to do something, the Pavlov's dog approach, then you have very well-trained staff. And again, just in that scenario, if you think when you put a headset on, as you'll do, since most of you have already, we've got you trapped. You can't look at your cell phone, can't talk to your friend beside you, can't get distracted what's going outside. We literally have you completely in our environment. Whatever we've chosen for you to see, albeit in 360, we've put every element in. You can then add an online test, for argument's sake, because this is internet savvy, so you can then start, as people get more accustomed to having headsets on, to do all your tests via that headset, or at this stage, watch the video, then jump on another device to take your tests. So very, very powerful around the training element, and we are just starting on our first projects here in New Zealand. Data. Now, most people wouldn't have thought of that, and I hadn't thought of it to one of my cohorts in Wellington did and actually very relevant for Christchurch, dare I say it, those bigger red blobs are the Christchurch earthquakes, believe it or not. So young Jared went back from 1970 to present day, got all the data out of our friends at GeoNet, and completely built this inside the VR headset. So the whole thing is headset and eye controlled. Menus, you can graph out sideways around scalar of year. The bigger the ball, the greater the earthquake, and by distance. So you can see we're at 30k down or close to the surface. So yeah, lies and Dan statistics, as I said. Imagine that you can show your profitability in great arches and curves in this to impress your bosses. This is a really interesting manifestation that we think is quite relevant, or very relevant to businesses, especially within perhaps a corporate environment, or if you have a specific product or working in an area where data and visualization of data is important. Very, very different to even a graph or what you would have previously done. So this is, I think that's one of our picks, and once I saw this, I went, yeah, this is going to work. Culture and history. Big one again, this is our wonderful wahinis from Rotorua, and that's at Lake Okataina. I've got that again on the clip. So imagine these 3 ladies around you with the poi on the beautiful foreshores of Lake Okataina. This is part of an initiative that was done by NZ On Air called Poi 360. It was a traditional 20-minute video, a website explaining the importance and the history of the poi to Maori culture. And from our perspective, and from Lilinita Ruruni Ryan, who was ex-Maori Television, who put this together, the poi should be up there with the haka. I don't know if you're too much aware of the history, but it was originally a male weapon of war used to strengthen the wrists. So when you grab that big meri to chase the colonial men away, that gave you strength in the wrist. It then evolved into the women's legacy and genealogy. So all the history of the Maori culture is told through song and dance. So the poi became a genealogy and history lesson. So very important to culture, and this was the first project we've seen from New Zealand On Air around convergence of 2D website and virtual reality experience, and it works really well. It really gives you a sense of the power of the poi. Again, Take that forwards or backwards, I'm from Kapiti. Kapiti Island was initially a Maori fortress for Te Rauparaha. Then it became a whaling station, and then there was an integration between the colonials and Maoris on the island. It then became a farm for a while, is now one of the very first predator-free islands or pieces of New Zealand. John Key recently announced an initiative around making New Zealand predator-free, and we're already exemplar of that. So imagine we could take you back, also Kiwis on the island, they only come out at night. Using this tech, we could take you back to the days that Te Rauparaha was using the island as a fortress. We could capture first, then embellish characters in, Hobbit style, 20% capture, 80% visual effects equals final product. So again, if you're in that, a combination of tourism, but if you've got cultural or historical stories to tell, if you're a museum or a gallery, imagine past, present, and also speculation of the future. So we could bring the moa back into a scene, which we have. We've actually created and rendered a moa, which is quite entertaining, and it looks really real. So this, big segment and relevant right today. We're already doing a number of projects around that. And interestingly enough, I've just got back from Australia where I was speaking at Byron Bay around their 10th anniversary Film Festival. They had their very first augmented virtual conference. And in terms of Indigenous history, for the Aboriginal, this is massive because they are all around storytelling and legend. So there's a lot of parallels in Australia, and there's a lot of discussions around this culture and history element for storytelling.
Brendon, just I will remind of 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
And then it's playtime.
Okay,
so,
right,
yes.
brand. Very obvious as well for brand reinforcement you're starting to see from AIG. We've just done recently for Wither Hills, it's part of the Lion Breweries Group, a personalisation. I suppose Wither Hills is quite a small vineyard, so we went for the personal emotional draw across the wonderful vineyards first thing in the morning, through the vineyard setup, or the vintery, and an engagement and a call to action to come to the vineyard and also purchase the product. Lion put this on 35 headsets for their leading sales folk throughout New Zealand to go out to the distributors, retailers, to show off Wither Hills at its best, and they've had great sales results as well. So this is where you can start to see measurement and tracking, because they know what sales of X were around their regions. Post this, you can then start to identify whether you've had an impact on sales by the seeing is believing. And that applies from car, co-creation, anything. Again, there's such a range that you can apply with brand. We've done work for Fonterra, and pretty much any sector that you're trying to do brand reinforcement. That's going to be a big impact on that. Music and festival, that's a sitter as well. Music videos, festival being present at the concert or event, or it could be a symposium, it could be a cultural festival, Diwali in Auckland, or they've got a massive Chinese festival early next year. Again, I think in terms of disability, suddenly you're enabling people to be present at an event. But for the music side, quite astounding actually. It's, again, that's a real commercial model for anyone who's involved in entertainment. Cirque du Soleil, theme park, etc. Massive, massive potential. Cost to build and then model around revenue. Talk a little about that. Augmented plus virtual equals mixed reality. We've sort of moved on from VR, and this is already just how fast this industry has moved. Augmented is where you're looking at that gent there and look at him through here, and the letters turn upside down on his t-shirt, so we could actually read it. Virtual, we've got you trapped in the environment. Mixed is a combination of that virtual capture, either CG or via camera, and then embellished with information over the top. So we're really quickly moving into mixed reality, mainly because it's more sophisticated. We like to be challenged, and we think that's the best use of, but that's on a scale. We're going for high end, but you've got all these others. Just quickly again, within New Zealand, you're starting to see some real heavy hitters, even based out of our precinct. Magic Leap is fibre optic technology, which will be at the quality we see. Now that's real science fiction. They're beaming light into your eyes. FDA will have a field day with that in the US, but that is technology. There is 40 developers sitting inside the Weta empire working with Magic Leap. Richard Taylor's on the board, but it's now massive investment from Google and Alibaba. 8i are doing volumetric VR. They scanned me, 8 cameras around, captured me as a 360 object, and that's this real character inside a showroom type approach. Pickpock, gamification, polytronic visual effects, and this mixed reality. So that's just a quick example of how the talent of New Zealand's emerging from there. A couple of thoughts, half of 360, 180. Everyone's talking 360, we're now talking 180. Actually Jared, who did that data visualization, has now developed a camera which is about to come to market, which is 180. Now, that gives the ability for the stroppy creative director from an advertising company to actually get in behind and go, cut, focus, or whatever. Well, no focus in here, but 360 at the moment, we're banging the camera in the middle, everyone runs away and hides. 180, you have the ability to direct again, double the quality, half the work in terms of stitching, and streamable today. So in a lot of instances, if you're sitting in a training, that's pretty much all you're seeing. Your advertising can go behind here, or you just slightly motion blur. So in terms of where we're at and where the industry is evolving, this is a really interesting niche product right now. So watch 180. In summary, it's a Wild Wild West. No one's got the answers. There is no rule book for any of this. We're literally making it up as we go along. You might spend 3 months developing a piece of content, gnashing your teeth across all these technical tools, and Unity releases a plugin that makes it happen in 30 seconds. So this is like, $30,000 for a website, a decade ago, and now my 8-year-old son can use Squarespace and drag and drop. This is the evolution you're going to see. We also refer it to as darkroom days at the moment, because in terms of capture, off our best or better cameras, we've got 6 sets of capture. We then have to take it away and post-process that in the lab and join those 6 cameras into a 360 sphere. So there's a lot of complexity at the moment. It's also a black magic art of storytelling, and anything you know about videography and start again. So that's been, I suppose, my benefit. I'm not from the videography background, so coming in with a clean set of eyes, if you like, has made it easier for me to adapt. So yeah, someone in this room could easily have an idea. There's no stupid idea right now. No one really knows, and we've just seen so many pivots into, say, weekly, daily, hardware, software content, interpretation of content. You have the opportunity to be a thought leader and at the forefront of this, so don't be shy. Just one last plug. There is an association forming for those who are more interested in making content or driving or lobbying this, whether it's from a business perspective, a content creation, or a development. So there is now a national VR association forming. Jessica's based out of Wellington, but again, it's early days for government. Nothing's really pigeonholed around where the funding comes from a government perspective, other than history and culture. And also finding VC investors is really hard in New Zealand compared to US and even Australia, where I've just been. So we're trying to find a powerful voice amongst all of that, and that will become your end users or commercial as well as the developers. So if anyone has that interest, it's worth putting your voice in the mix there as well. We're interested to hear.
Fantastic.
How many minutes over?
Wow.
That's close.
He went for it.
Yeah.
Have you got any questions for Brendon before we move on to the hands-on experience? Alrighty. Of course, sir, yes.
I was going to say, is anybody sort of looking along the lines of merging VR technology with video conferencing facilities for remote collaboration?
Yes. Yeah, and that's a difficult one, because imagine if you've got a headset on, you look the same as everyone else. So yeah, I thought hard about that, because that was the first thing I thought, is imagine all of us round the table. You're in Kazakhstan, you're in Bolivia, I'm in the back blocks of Australia, yet we're around the table conferencing. And then I realised we all had to have headsets on to see each other, so we all looked like we're from Mars. So yeah, that didn't quite fit the bill. But what Facebook announced at the Oculus conference just a couple of weeks ago, Mark Zuckerberg, is around avatar characterisation, because humans, in terms of interaction, drive on your little smile lines, raise of eyebrows, twitch of nose, smile, frown. So the first incarnation of that is around an avatar approach, where as you speak with the headset on or a scene, you're manifested at the other end as a little animated character, which of course will get better and better, and then there will be the virtual you further down the line. But right now, that's as good as it gets. Data is massive. Yeah, I'd like to see it somehow got to capture data streams at this stage, especially in 360, or perhaps even in 180 might be make more sense. But right now, it's an avatar-based solution, and that's literally just been announced just over a week ago.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Can you touch on where HoloLens fits in?
Sorry?
Can you touch on where HoloLens fits in?
HoloLens, yes. I regard that more of an augmented product, so I sort of put that to one side. And again, It's been a bit of a challenge for us in New Zealand to figure that because we tried really hard and failed to get our hands on a unit. They're very US-centric around it. That's again an augmented, so I would suspect, for argument's sake, let's say within a training realm. Our other problem or challenge with HoloLens at this stage is it's a really narrow field of vision. It's about 70 degrees. But for argument's sake, training would be in the first instance. What I'm always challenged by around augmented is that you can't control your live environment. So if suddenly that microphone fell over, how does that affect? But again, if you've got point cloud, so you'd have, for argument's sake, in this room, I could be sitting up there with a HoloLens and that mirror could change into something else, or the Spark Lab sign might start getting animated, or someone came in and started performing an action. So HoloLens is the augmented approach, where you'll be seeing in real time, as I see now, but embellishment of objects, characters, or additional information will start to kick. Yeah, there's 3 Green.
From Trimble, and we've got HoloLenses in our office. We're doing some SketchUp work.
Oh, okay, so using
So we are doing that, so if you want to talk to me,
yeah, cool.
we can do
Excellent.
demos in that as well. So we're doing some work on that.
Perfect.
Yeah, we were one of the first groups in. So we're
I was going to
quite
say, I've
lucky.
not struck anyone else, and I've sort of been...
My first experience was seeing NASA data, Mars data,
Yes.
and that really blows you away. So it can do VR
Yes.
and do AR as well.
Okay.
But it's obviously better at AR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And field of view?
Yeah,
that
it's
am I
as you
right?
say, it's very limited,
It's
but
quite
they've really
limited.
made it really good.
Yeah.
So they've gone for quality.
Yes. And this is the big thing, is this is quality versus quantity trade-off. For argument's sake, I'll just quickly touch on that around how you deliver. So if you're using this, you would be streaming off the internet, off your phone. So you're involving YouTube, whatever your speed of internet is, and perhaps a 4-year-old smartphone, so it'll look crap. Sorry, that's why I don't like this. Mainly because, again, if you're trying to promote your product or service at its best quality, you want it to look great. It's like watching a YouTube video where it's all pixelated. That's what you'll get. But if you control that and it's stored locally and you're just in a kiosk or at a music festival or something, that's a different kettle of fish. And yeah.
So just on the tourism and the drone work you did,
Yep.
how interactive can they get? Because you're capturing something at the time,
Yes.
but then playback and, do you find the interactive part of it worked well, or do you have to do a lot of CG work on top? Or?
It's again, it's voyeuristic, so you're not interacting with that environment per se, and it's all around. The big difference is that your shot setup is absolutely critical. Otherwise, you've got a hell of a lot of post work. If that chair is at the back, or you didn't want those cameras behind your head, and if we'd put a camera in the middle here, 360 post. It's hard enough just when you've zoom focused and removing objects, but when suddenly you're dealing in a 360 ball, we've got no focus or zoom. And this is why we love the controlled environment of VR. We can set or stage something very, very close, and just like anything in capture, the less you have to do in post, the less expense. And how many times have you heard a creative director say, "Oh, let's just fix that in post," and the tech guys are pulling their hair out.
You mentioned Apple?
Yes. No. Nothing. Okay, I will tell you more. Well, I'm actually, I was an Apple engineer for 25 years. I saw the light, and on April Fool's Day last year, exited. So I actually haven't bought a piece of Apple equipment in a year. It's all been Samsung and Windows PCs, which is a bit of an oddity to me. But anyhow, Apple really are the dark horse, and my take on it, and again, we've been watching it because we were still registered developers up until that time, is watch the space. Apple, if you for argument's sake, let's use the analogy of the tablet. Microsoft played around with the tablet for something like 5 years promoting it. I sold about 5, I think, and they were $5,000 each, and they're a very compromised device. Apple introduced the iPad. Everyone goes, well, what do we need an iPad for? We've got a smartphone, a laptop, and a desktop, and sold 40 million in the first year, and hundreds of millions since. So Apple are the masters of commercialisation and profit. They're not the largest market cap company in the world for no good reason, damn them. So I call them Big Brother these days, because they were the little guy when I started 25 years ago in 1984. Well, actually more years. Shoot, that's scary. It's 32
It's
years.
very scary.
Anyway, yeah, I entered the Apple industry in 84 and started playing with the first Macs at Telecom, which is now Spark. So I was a business analyst there. But the upshot is, Apple will come with we're doing QuickTime VR 15 years ago. That was a product, an active product. And again, it was 360 stills, but that's 15 plus years ago. I think it was 91. So again, yeah, probably more. Either way, Apple have had this tech forever. There's various designs that fall out of the sites around the hardware. We know they've been hiring people for over 18 months. They will come out with a beautifully crafted, content-driven device, which will be price sensitive. Everyone from Samsung and Oculus will probably pull their hair out and go, how come we couldn't do that? But what they're, and my only take is, and I've questioned a lot since I've been with Apple for so long and they were technology leaders, is they're waiting for the quality element. They're not happy with the quality we're currently getting out. And again, as you'll see, slightly pixelated. At the end of the day, you've got a cell phone screen, if I can get this out, this close to your eye. So there's you're seeing, no matter how dense or sophisticated the screen is, this is where you're at. You're not watching something here. Where Magic Leap is basically beaming light, and all we're seeing is light into your eyes. So you can see where this, so this is why I call it darkroom days and Wild West. This is the beginning of the revolution of how we see and interact with content. I reckon, personally, in 5 years' time, there won't be websites where we'll just literally be visually driven. Could be your cool sort of aviator sunglasses with a unit that sits on your side, or maybe miniaturised to that by that point. So this big bulky unit that we're wearing, and again, imagine trying to watch a movie in this for 2 hours is, and the quality's not there. We're all used to 4K and now 8K screens sitting at home, beautiful quality on a big screen. It's all coming, it's just not here yet. Apple are waiting for that moment.
All right, any last questions? Yes, sir.
You mentioned earlier about the Hive and the benefits with the sensors on your hands
Yes.
and the 3 metre space. Is anyone looking at a more wider ranging space, like an open field you run around through content?
Yep, again, your limitation right now is processing potential. Well, if you think at the moment you need a tethered cord back to a high-end PC, so you're talking 5 grand, the latest 1080 graphics cards, you need frames per second. So you really want 90 frames a second. If you're from a gaming, that's nirvana. But that's a 5 grand PC plus $1,000 headset with a 3 metre tethered cable back to the graphics card. So that's your limitation right now. Quality equals tethering. And again, darkroom days, fast forward a year, 2 years, no. So yes, because again, if you think around that training, you could do a whole warehouse with point clouding with objects, and you're literally walking around doing an obstacle course, or from a training perspective, that is nirvana on the training perspective, or even adventure perspective. We're actually really impressed with what, and again, judge for your own around the Gear VR, because the Gear VR is internet savvy. If you've got a high-end wireless network and the device is active, possible. Again, there's just been no budget to get to that point in New Zealand anyway. No doubt someone's already tackling that overseas. Or you would do it augmented, so you're in a theatric adventure, so you're seeing in real time, and we know you're standing here, therefore the leprechaun leaps out at you, or whatever it may be. And that is quite feasible within these devices, because that's what I didn't point out with the Gear VR is also an augmented device. You flick it into capture mode or C mode, so you are literally seeing, and then you could augment over the top. Morning, Heki Parata. Yes. But yeah, these are some of the challenges, is there's not yet an acceptance of the technology, whereas Palmer Lucky's statement in an interview recently, when he was asked which vertical or facet do you think this has the most impact on, and without hesitation he said education. I think the virtual school trip or field trip, massive. And this one I'm talking about is that suddenly within the classroom, you can be on the deserts of Arizona, the top of Mount Everest, top of the Eiffel Tower, and embellish that with test information and further information web style. So you've looked at the construction of the Eiffel Tower, you're interested with which metal it's made, boom, web style, you're suddenly off down in metal land as opposed to view, or how do you speak French, because no one speaks English in France, allegedly.
And practicing constructing a habitat on Mars.
Exactly. So and how not to crash. Anyway, sorry, you said that.
Yeah, alrighty. Now we are going to give you a chance to get hands-on with some of the gear that Brendon's brought along in just a moment. While I've got your undivided attention, a couple of very quick things. This, of course, is the first event in the Christchurch series of Spark Labs Business Innovation Roadshow.
Yay!
We've got Trent Yeo from Queenstown tonight at 5:30. He is a fascinating chap. In fact, Brendon, I think you've done work with...
I was going to say, if anyone is interested in the virtual tourism, he is my fanboy at the moment and my champion, because we've got Zip Trek arguably is our best tourism. It was one of the last ones we did. As I say, how fast things have evolved with our capture technique. We were really, really happy, as were they. They're getting 100% hit rate. So people come into the bottom of the Queenstown store, I'm not sure about the zip track, 55-year-old South Korean woman, bang them in the headset, 100% hit rate of sale.
Yeah.
Around unsure to sure, we'll book the ticket.
Amazing.
It does show, and they've been great around this ROI model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Trent's here at 5:30. You're very welcome to come to that event. Just sign up on the Moby site. And he's going to be very much focused on New Zealand's tourism industry and what it really means to be sustainable. Is the tourism industry facing trouble ahead, just given the sheer volume of demand and popularity that the country is experiencing from around the world?
So just on that note, I will be back for that session with Trent, 'cause we're good mates. So yeah, if anyone wants further questions has to leave, I'll be around then as well.
Great. There are 3 speakers tomorrow. Of course, first up tomorrow, Sir Ray Avery. So if you want to check out tomorrow's speakers as well, just go to the Moby site. You'll also notice there are a variety of functions on that Moby site. Plenty of networking opportunities. There are our social channels that you can plug into. And most importantly, we really want your feedback. Obviously, it's very much Spark customers that are centre of attention when it comes to these events. So we really welcome your constructive feedback. Very much you're welcome to rate this event. Tell us ideas that you would like to see perhaps fine-tuned for such events, maybe some particular topics or speakers that you'd like us to bring. Do you want Spark Lab to come back to Christchurch? Any such feedback is very, very welcome. Just fire that feedback function. Plus, there is a wee carrot. If you do provide some feedback, you'll be in the draw for $250 worth of Spark credit. So an audience member will win that. So just feel free. We'd really appreciate your feedback via that function. Do it before you leave the atrium today if you want. Also, I was just thinking, by the way, Brendon, I had the most perfect opportunity for a VR experience over the weekend. I was felling a few trees on the property.
Oops.
And I went a bit mad. And it would have actually been really, really helpful if I could have had like a VR experience beforehand, you know, just to visualise how is it going to look when I knock down that one, before it was too late. So there's an idea.
Sorry, I was having a health and safety visualisation that the tree came back at you because you didn't use the right technique.
Well,
anyway.
there is that, yes.
Hope you're wearing a helmet.
Yeah, absolutely, and the high-vis vest, absolutely, yeah. But before we wrap up, I do have a little goodie bag for Mr. King.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Looks
on behalf of Spark. Yes, indeed. And you're very welcome, of course, to experience some of the gear that Brendon has brought along. So feel free to hang about. And thank you very much for joining us this morning. You look incredibly attentive at 7 o'clock. It's quite remarkable.
Say, are they awake?
Yeah, amazing. So thank you very much and have a great day. Thank you. Thank you to Brendon.